right, so welcome, ladies. It's always fun to spend time with you. And today we're going to be talking about discovering the leader within. And today we're exploring leadership from the inside out, what it means to discover the leader within. And not leadership as a title or a position, but leadership as something that's lived and practiced in our everyday moments. The fun part is that most of us carry beliefs about leadership, ideas we've absorbed from culture, work, family, or just our lived experience. And some of those beliefs can support us, while others might be quietly limiting us. In either case, they shape how we see ourselves and how willing we are to step forward. So, this conversation isn't about molding ourselves into an external definition of leadership. It's really about noticing and becoming aware of the beliefs we hold and what becomes possible when we question them and begin to define leadership in our own terms. We'll be sharing from our own lived experiences as always and letting the conversation just unfold naturally because we just like to see what comes up. And as you're listening, you might find yourself recognizing some of your own assumptions about leadership and maybe even discovering that leadership has been present in your life all along. So I want to open this up to both of you and to everyone listening. When you hear the word leadership, just take that in for a minute. What beliefs what belief shows up for you first? And is this a supportive belief or a limiting belief?
I would say immediately, um, it's kind of like my mind is flooded with different ideas or thoughts about what leadership is, or maybe I'm thinking about people or situations. And, on one hand, it's like, oh, leadership to me makes it seem like someone is very capable and um, they know what they're doing, and they're someone that you want to follow because they're the guide. They're the ones with all the intelligence, all the know-how, who can, wrangle the sheep or whatever it is. But then it also brings up the idea of someone being very distant and just kind of do the work and not really kind of a people person. But then on the flip side, maybe a leadership can be a person who is really about um, the people or who they're guiding. So there's leaders who are just about doing the work, and there are leaders who are about the who they're leading. They care about those individuals, and you can look at it as it's corporate. You can look at it as in a family relationship, whatever it is, but it kind of gives the idea for me, um, both, I can see it both ways, like how it can be seen as very rigid, but also very flexible and fun. It depends on the personality of the person.
Such a great point. Anything brewing for you, Dory?
Your question was like, what do I think of leadership? But remind me the question again.
Yeah, just what is your first association when you hear leadership? Is there a belief that shows up or a definition for you?
As you were talking, I was thinking about um, how I've had to shift out of the idea that leadership is an obligation,
Mhm.
that it was an obligation. It's something um, that I should strive for and eventually like position myself so because that's just part of the continuum of life. Like one day you're a follower and the next day you're a leader, and I should develop these skills to do that. And how that was it's a very linear experience, and I feel like it's very limited. I think that just like with anything, you have a day one, so it does make sense to like step one is this, step two is this, that kind of a thing. Um, but I just like I've shifted from leadership is an obligation and a responsibility to more it is like there's like this personal call that you feel, and you just like I do believe there is this leader within everyone, and it's a matter of finding that out. And I mean, you could put yourself in a workshop to go learn leadership skills, or you could um be mentored by a leader, and like you could go that route, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or you can put yourself in situations where you learn about yourself, and you learn like, when I'm faced with this opportunity, how do I show up? And kind of get to know yourself that way. And that's more the approach that I take. Um, Learning about the leader within, understanding that part of myself. And then when the time comes and it's time to show up, I don't shy away from stepping forward. So, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like an obligation. It just feels like a very natural, like, yeah, I can do that. I'll, I can, I'm capable of that, or I can see that this needs to be done, and I'm happy to step in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say my inherited kind of definition of leadership, my sense of leadership had been kind of that front of the room person,
Hmm.
that head of, and usually someone with a strong personality and
Hmm.
someone that is highly educated and knowledgeable, like ex has an expertise of some kind.
Hmm.
And also the feeling that comes with that is rigidity and kind of control. And in my body, that just is like, oh, it just doesn't hit right. There's a lot of resistance there. And I also felt like leadership was a role because I'd also witnessed leaders in these positions not having any integrity, right? Like just
Mm,
showing up as this is my role as a leader and it's a role or a part that I play, but then I leave that on the table when I go and do my life. And I'm a person that says someone says, you got to do this. I'm like, oh, really? So I don't really respond to that type of leadership that well.
Hmm.
And I know in my life I've struggled to obtain that kind of leadership because I feel a sense of leadership and guidance and inside of me, like the call that you were talking about.
Hmm.
And over time, I've discovered that the leaders that are really leading are people oriented and they know themselves and they're transparent about their humanity and they connect in a way that is like, oh, they can feel as if they are with whomever they are leading. And it just, and in my body, that feels so much better. So my belief nowadays is more about how can I know myself better? And
Hmm.
how can I step into those places that I feel like I can contribute? I don't have to be the expert. I just have to have a contribution that's valuable, I think.
A couple of I want to go back to what you were saying in
Yeah.
regards to that control piece.
Hmm.
And my thought was like, I think there's the leaders who they feel driven by um some outside, goalpost. Like they're leading everyone there, and they're going to be the first ones that get there, and so you're going to do it their way, and all of that kind of thing. Um and And then there's those who, anyway, I don't need to get into all of that. But the thought that I was having was there's the leaders who want control, and and therefore that extends to everyone else around them. And I think also there's like the kind of leader that's not safe is the one that they use those around them to be an extension of them, right? And that's their purpose of leading is I want this done my way and I need help getting there, but y'all got to do it my way. Right. And so that to me is not a very safe leader. And that's someone who wants to be in a lot of control. But there's also, I feel like an effective leader, which is what I heard you saying, was someone who's safe. It's about the safety of people. The example that's been going through my mind is when 9/11 happened and people could see that someone needed to direct traffic. That wasn't about someone being large and in charge. That was like people are gonna get hurt if someone doesn't get out and do this. And so that there was no obligation. It was just like that leader from within showed up and was like, yeah, I can stand here and tell these people to stop and let these people go and whatever. But that's the example that I'm thinking of is just someone who is, um, like you were saying, like they really care about people. It's about the people and it's not about themselves.
Yeah, it's almost like fear-based versus service-based in a way
Hmm.
to me.
Yeah.
It has a really different feel
Yeah.
to it.
And safety versus control. Does this
Oh,
person recognize, are they someone who can be trusted? Are they, am I someone who can be trusted? Can I even trust myself? You know,
yeah.
anyways.
I know in situations where I've felt like I've been in a leadership role, I've always felt like I needed to sort of be on the same level so that I can be heard, right? Because if I have this sense if I'm talking down or at somebody or whatever, that just doesn't get received. And it's
Oh,
interesting.
I'm definitely all like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is a
I just
combo.
thought about something. I was in a job one time and we were doing one of those, you know, office team building things. And I was in a group with a vice president. I think she was a vice president. And whatever we were talking about, I had said to her and everyone else that I speak to everyone as if they're on the same level. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what you do. I will still, yes, there's a respect, but I'm going to speak to you the same way. And I'm not disrespecting, but also, yes, if you're in a certain position, um, I'm not just gonna be like, hey girl, hey, what's up, dude? I'm not gonna do like that, but I'm not going to, put you on a pedestal just because you have this title. And she disagreed. She was just like, no, no, kind of one of these things like I'm in this position and I
She
deserve.
has to assert her position.
Right. I
Yeah.
I need
Mm.
everyone to see me and speak to me. This light is crazy. Um, in a way that respects my role and my title, my position. And this is insane. There we go. And I was just like, okay. I disagree. But that was her role as a leadership. But then, Dory, what you were saying about, directing traffic certain situations kind of propel people into a leadership role where
Mhm.
they weren't or didn't think of themselves, but it was always possible for them to do. But maybe they sat back, maybe they just, oh, I'm in this leadership role and in the office, but not in personal life. And there's some people who are like, I'm this person, I'm this title, I have this standing in this community and they're going to be taking the lead, but yet depending on what's happening, people around them are going to go, yeah, no, you're not the one right now. We're not going to listen to you because this is a totally different environment. Um, and then someone else comes up who is more relatable with the people, with what's going
Mhm.
on. They understand it. They're not sitting on their pedestal. They're not, basing everything they say and saying like, you have to follow me because I know I'm right. When everyone else is like, look, I'm one of you. I get it. And this is what we need to do because it just comes naturally for some people. And those are the ones that you gravitate to. You're like, oh, well, okay, I like this person. Yes, there's that safety, there's that confidence. Um, and then other people are like, I need someone who tells me what to do, and they're going to go with someone who's saying, do it the way I need, the way I want. So I think maybe that safety can come up in different ways, but um, it depends on, I think, the individual and the situation.
Yeah, your ability to
So
listen. That's what I was hearing. Like
yeah.
whether you can listen or not. And it's, someone who's been through the ranks. They've they've been in all the spaces and all the places. And so they can really respect where people are at. And, I think about a CEO who or even like a principal, like let's just go that route. Like I think about a principal who started out as the kindergarten teacher, you know, and then they went to junior high and then they went to high school, or like they've been in all the spaces and they've gone to different schools and um and so now they're serving as a principal, but then like maybe they decide to take on an administrative role. And I'm like, yeah, that guy has my vote. That person, it's not just a guy, but that person, they definitely, I would trust them more than,
Hmm.
someone who comes in and says, well, I'm a banker and I know how to,
I went to
like,
school. I learned this in a classroom.
yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
have the
necessarily trust you with
experience
my
yet.
kids.
This
Yeah.
book says this is what we should do. And
Although I am
yes.
wondering about that as far as leadership goes, is so you talked about this person that started out as a kindergarten teacher and went through the ranks and kind of put in their dues sort of thing and gained this
Hmm.
experience. And I'm wondering if that's actually necessary to be an effective leader.
No.
Not necessarily. I just trust someone who understands who their people are, you know. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I've been noticing lately that because this has come up in my own life, like I thought that I had to take this class or this leadership instruction or whatever and
mm,
really work my way up to earn it. I had to earn being a leader. And the fact is that I'm a leader in my everyday life. Like I've
mm-hmm,
led a family, I've led groups of women, I've led and
mm-hmm.
it's not like I've bossed them around and told them what to do, but I think sometimes by being um an embodied person,
Right.
right? That
Absolutely.
it's an embodied leadership, that it's a
Mm-hmm,
felt sense from people and they just kind of naturally look to you as that person,
mm-hmm.
which I wasn't aware of for a very long time. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But there's sometimes a natural thing that occurs where you are put in to a
Yeah.
leadership position, if you will. And like, how do you know that? How do you even know that's happening? And like, how do you step up into that? What is that? Have you had any experiences
You know that's
like that?
happening. You know that's happening when suddenly all eyes are on you and they're going, well, what do you think? What should we do? And you just, I don't know. Why are you looking at me? I don't know. That's when people have begun projecting and putting you in a role that you may not have asked for, but they see something in you, or they've experienced your leadership, and they're like, "Yeah, you're the person. You're the one. That's who we're looking at." And so you either, you know, go with it or just back away. But like I probably have been put in that position without really thinking about, oh, I'm in a leadership position. I'm the one everyone's looking to, but I'm pretty sure I've been in that position in different instances where everyone's coming to me because they know that I'm thinking of a job specifically, but
Mhm.
they other people come to me because they're like, okay, we know that you're going to get this done and you can, you can organize it. You can round up the people. You are what we need to help everyone else do what needs to be done. And I never thought of it specifically as a leadership role. It was just like, all right, I'll take it on. I'll do that thing. And it was fine because I guess they already had confidence in me and I had confidence in myself because I knew how to do whatever was being asked. It wasn't like, let me figure it out and fake my way. Um, I don't think I've ever had that. And why would someone go, yeah, you can do it? Uh, I don't know how, but okay. I know people do that. Um, and I probably have to, but on a smaller scale. But when it concerns other people, I would happily say, yeah, I'm not the one. There's someone else who's better at it, whatever it is in that leadership role. Because sometimes I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be that person. Mm-mm.
Responsible.
You
Right.
know, yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, it's like back to my previous comment, that was honestly just about trust. That was
Mhm.
like, I trust someone who's been there, done that. They got the t-shirt. So it wasn't necessarily about the ranks. It was just like they've been in all the spaces. And I'm like, yeah, I trust that they understand. Um, but in this case, I find that for me personally, like my own personal, I don't know when I wasn't this way. I really feel like everybody, like I feel if I'm a part of something, I feel like I need to be a part of something. I don't want to ride the coattails of other people's efforts. I feel like what can I do to contribute to what's going on here? And that attitude alone has put me in some form of leadership without like so I'm not, you know, campaigning or anything. I'm just sitting there going, okay, well, what can I do? How can I help? How can I support? And um, and if I share a vision I have, that also puts me in a space where uh I think, a leader, I know we're talking about our own personal experiences, but what I have found is if you can see a few steps further into, you can see a few steps further, it tends to you kind of get nominated into that spot. Like people are like, "Oh, well, like we're going on vacation and oh, you've been there before or you have a vision for how this can go. Okay, you plan the itinerary, and that alone kind of puts you in that position and it can be um it's like, no, I just wanted to enjoy myself. Like, can we just be a little more collaborative about this? I didn't want to
Oh my God.
necessarily make the decision for everybody. And
Yes.
some people
Yes.
want to put themselves in that position where they are subject to that, like they're subject to what someone else, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That is definitely not my personality. Like, tell me what we're doing and how can I contribute to that? That's more my personality. But in terms of like, um, the other thought that I had was I think it's important in my life to surround myself with people who can give honest feedback, who see things as well as, they're willing to check their biases at the door and they're willing to try and see things as they really are, which means that the kind of feedback I'm going to get about me is in that same vein, and I find that when I'm around people like that, I tend to learn things about myself that I would never have learned before, and so it's not so much about being in a bubble, but it's more like, you know, I love being surrounded by people who are like, you're really good at that thing. Did you know that? And it's like, oh, that's gonna make me stretch and grow. Okay. If I did that. No, you can do it. You can totally do it. I love being surrounded by people like that, but it's also hard. But that I find to be the thing that um it is something that can help me discover a side of myself that I would have never known otherwise. So.
Yeah. I've I think you've gone around the whole bend, the circle, and I'm like, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. That's someone thinking I can do it, and I'm like, okay, to the point where I am that person who goes, I don't want to. Can someone else, can you just tell me what to do and I'll do it? That's when I'm tired of being that in that role. I'm tired of being the one who everyone thinks can do something, whether I can or not. And sometimes I just don't, I want to be told what to do just because that is still um, my contribution. Like, just what do you need? I'm here to help. I want to help you, but this is your thing. Don't put it off on me. Don't, share. I don't want to share in the responsibilities. I just want to help you. So just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's to the point to where there's a whole lot of change and everything. I'm just like, I don't even want any part of this. So yeah, tell me what to do. I'll do it. Get out of my face. And that's it. And so I can see it's not even two ends. It's every point
Mm, yeah,
where I have been.
yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I
And
can be the
will
leader.
continue to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I can be the leader. And then at the same time, I can be the follower.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's interesting. It brings up this. I learned it in coactive coaching. So if you've read that
mm,
book or you're familiar with that, they
mm,
do a lot of this. And it talks about different leadership like styles or placements. And I think I've talked with you about this before, but there's the leader in front. So like that head of front of the room leader that everybody's kind of looking at, and
mm,
there's like maybe
mhm,
directive coming from. And then there's back of the room leaders, which they're more of like support people, right? They're not up in the limelight. They're just kind of behind the scenes doing things that matter and helping kind of, support that group. And then there's leaders in the field, which are kind of like all over the place, sort of like, where can I contribute? What's helping? And there's leaders beside that are like more of that
mhm,
collaboration. And so when I learned that, I thought, oh my God, I don't have to be this like specific kind of front of the room leader. Sometimes I'm in the back, sometimes I'm in the side.
mhm,
So, like you were saying, Kim, like there is all of these different like flavors of leadership, if you will, that are supportive and contributing, and they all matter. And I
Hmm.
think like, is there, you
Do you have a
said you've
preference?
gone, yeah, do you have a preference to like
Well,
one
that's
you
why I'm asking you. Do you
gravitate
have a
toward?
I
preference?
do.
Yes.
I do. And I will say that my preference is never to be in the spotlight. Never, ever, ever. I do not like it. Because that's not where I feel most comfortable. Before I had the language or anything like that, I used to say when I was younger, much younger, I don't want to be the CEO. I don't want to be the president. I want to be like the vice president. I want to be the person who is just off to the side, who can whisper and say this because I know what I'm talking about. I just don't want to be under that spotlight. And so I will be the, one of the people behind the scenes. And sometimes it's kind of like the husband and wife, where the wife runs the show, but the
Yeah.
husband's out there, um, and I'm in the background or even off to the side, but close enough to the center where I can still have my input and share and help and do all this stuff. But that spotlight is not on me. I didn't want it. That's my preference.
Danny, preference.
I think it depends on the scenario. Like sometimes I'll be in kind of a teaching, facilitating role, which is that front of the room, and other times I'm the support role, or I'm there for, with the community kind of thing. And I really just feel into it, like what feels most appropriate and how I contribute best
Mm,
in that.
yeah. It's fun. Like I know both of you fairly well to like be like, yeah, I could totally see like what you both just described. I can see that. That's that's cool. I find that for me, um, it kind of like what you were saying. It kind of depends on the moment. Like and kind of where I'm at, because I find that my awareness, like if I didn't get no sleep last night, then maybe today's not a leadership day.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is. I'm going to pull out a can of whoop ass and we're going to get this thing done. Kind of thing.
The
Who
moody
knows?
leader.
So, I just had a thought, like how I could see you. Dory, I see you as the spotlight. However, I don't mean it as like, oh, I need all this attention on me. What I see you as the spotlight, but your light expands to allow other people to come in and give you that wisdom and guidance to take in so you can then, feed off of it and do your thing. Because you are this upfront person and you speak your mind and you have your thoughts and but you still like to receive this information from other people to help you, to kind of give you this boon where now you can really be more of yourself. So your spotlight isn't harsh, but it's
Right. Well,
expansive.
Interesting.
and I think that's the sign of a
I hope
really
it's natural
powerful
light.
leader, right? That
Of
person
course,
that's
very
like, I
soft.
I know more. I don't know all of the things, and I'm willing to listen and to leverage that for in other people.
Mhm.
Because someone may not want to step up with that, but you have the ability to take that and do it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
I was when I heard Kim talking, it was just one of those like, oh yeah, that is totally I had forgotten that that's something that so the thought that was coming to me was I have heard people say something similar to what you just said, Kim. So like I don't see myself, so I don't know that that's happening, but I trust the people that have told me that. I'm like I trust that that's happening because I trust them and they're not uh, why would they lie to me about that, kind of a thing.
Right.
But I also know what's going on inside of me and what I see is like when I look at someone else, I feel like I can see and sense their potential. I really like I look at them, and I'm like, man, do you have any idea how amazing you are as a person? And so my invitation to them, to draw them out isn't necessarily, and I'm not like, um, I don't want to get all like, now, Kim, I don't want to like tiptoe around what you're saying, but it's not to extract from them what they're giving. It is like, do you honestly see that you're capable of doing this? And sometimes people don't know what they're capable of doing until they get that invitation.
Hmm.
And so it's honestly like that is probably one of the biggest joys of my life is when someone sees something in them that they didn't even know was there. And that um I don't know. I wish I could give you an example, but I'm just thinking of even someone as simple as like, do you know how good you are with animals? Like, did you know that? Like, you are such a natural with animals. And they're like, I am? Like, I know I like them, but I didn't know I was good at it. I'm like, you're a natural. Like, you should lean into this. Like,
Yeah.
and um,
I think that's actually
yeah,
if you can do something naturally, you don't see it. The
yeah.
more people who just are naturally good at something, they have no idea how other people see this as like, this is amazing. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. Like, what? And they're going, what are you talking about? Can't everybody
Mm-hmm.
do this? No, not everybody
Yeah.
can.
Right. Well, and that's kind of a good point. I was thinking, what are, we don't always see them, but are you aware of what your natural leader from within qualities are? Do you have a sense of those? I'm honestly curious. Do you recognize that in yourselves, or has it had to be pointed out to you, or have you come to realize those
Being
through
a
your life
leader.
experience?
The
Like,
but being a leader, did you
yeah, like
recognize that
your
when
leader within, does it have a voice? How does it speak to you? What is
mm,
naturally there? Are you aware of it?
that's the thought that's been coming to me this whole time.
I never think of myself as a leader. I may be in, I may be put in that role or decide, okay, I'm going to step up and put myself in that role because there's disorganization. Things are, I just need everything to formalize or Yeah, it's kind of like if you're in a group or a team, and I like, have fun. I think whatever you're working on, it can be serious, but you still have fun with it. But then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, everyone's having too much fun and no work is getting done. So then it's like I step up and like, all right, let's get this done because
You are all having too much fun.
right.
Sorry.
And but which is great, except we're not getting any work done,
No.
and that's just going to irritate the crap out of me, because I still want to get it done, but I don't see myself as that having that title. So
Hmm.
do I see like, other people may see it, but I don't consciously think, oh yeah, I'm in this role. I would have to really take some time and think about what other people see in me that they have already said, but I just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess whatever. I pass it off so much that I don't think I really own it to the point where I use it formally. I don't know.
I
I
think
think
you
I
bring up
just,
a really
yeah,
good point. Like it takes time to process what
Hmm.
someone else is reflecting back to you. I think that's a
yeah.
really good point.
Even after years, years and years, like someone can say something to you, like, "Oh, hey, you know how good you are at this?" Like, okay, great.
What what's been the most uncomfortable thing that someone's reflected back to you that in terms of leadership?
Oh, um, that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. That's up to you.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say
oh,
the thing that
okay.
actually called you out as a leader that you were really uncomfortable with.
It probably I don't have anything right now that's specific, but I would probably say if anything, it would have to do with trying to put me under that spotlight to be
Mm,
the talking head, the front and center, whatever you want to call it, just who like the face of something, to
mm,
stand up and oh God, yeah, don't tell me or want me to get up in front of a group and speak on behalf of everyone, which this is why I'm bad at acting and like theater. Oh my God, I think I gotta see. It was terrible. Um, if someone wants me to stand up and speak for the group, no, that's uncomfortable. No, I can
mm.
sit down and tell you what to
The
write.
presenter.
Yeah, I don't
Mm.
want to do that. No, it like
I heard a
this
little
is
whining there.
I do well.
like this is fine. I could do it with someone else beside me, but and if I'm sharing it, like this, or if I'm up on a stage or whatever presenting, there has to be someone next to me that I can kind of
Mm.
not necessarily hide behind, because I will still
Support.
be, yeah, I will still be up front and beside them, but it's like it's taking the focus off of me and sharing it a little bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, uncomfortable, don't have me speak for a group. And then everyone's just like, okay, and they're staring at me. Oh God, no, 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 please no.
Like having this visceral experience right now.
Yeah.
My mouth goes dry, my brain goes, what were we talking about?
It's like
Words?
public speaking is one of those
Kim
massive
has
human
left the
fears,
building.
right?
Yeah.
Like
And
all eyes are on you.
yeah, public speaking, that really is it's like I I don't want that much attention on me. I can be the life of the party if I'm in the mood. I can say all this stuff, but when suddenly all eyes are on me, mm-mm, I will forget everything. Mm.
I think that's this isn't to push back on what you're saying. It was a thought that I had as you were talking, which was I think for me, part of um I don't even know how to explain it, but I can't find the word to describe what it is I'm trying to say, but there is this sense of I can feel that I've got to show up and I don't want to show up. It's the last thing I want to do. I would like to be on a vacation in, the Cayman Islands right now. I would rather be somewhere else, anywhere but here.
Mhm.
But there are times when it's like, but I gotta show up. Like, and am I going to do this thing that I don't want to do? Because I know I can do this. I know I can do it. I know it's a need. And am I willing to step out of my comfort zone and put myself out there, knowing that I'm going to fall on my face and all the things, like knowing it's going to happen. Oh, I've been in that position a lot. So I don't know. But Danny, when I asked the question about comfort, I thought I saw a light go on for you. Did you have?
It's interesting because I feel like I have natural leadership tendencies and that I like
Mhm,
to step into leadership roles. And it doesn't have to be the head of bossy kind of thing. Like that is not my
mhm,
style. Um, However, what makes me uncomfortable is when someone's like, "Oh, you have to teach such and such, such, such." I'm like,
mm,
"Oh, I feel like there's this massive projection that gets put on me, like I have all the answers, and if I screw up, like if there's a break in there somewhere that I'm gonna be like chastised or she doesn't know what she's talking about kind of thing." And it's like I can't know everything. But I also, and it just makes me uncomfortable. But in any situation, I feel like I've dealt with it well. Like even with clients or whatnot, they're like, "Well, what about this? Or do you know this?" I'm like, I admit that I don't know it, but I will go research it and I'll come back with what I have.
Mhm.
So I've learned to kind of have a disclaimer around like, "Hey, even though I'm doing this and I'm standing here, that doesn't mean that I have all the answers." And I'm really a person like you were saying that is more collaborative that way. It like calls people up. I'm a leader that
Mhm.
calls people up. I'm like, okay, I have this, but what do you have?
Mhm.
What's inside of you that can help resource you? And really, I think it applies across the board to whatever I'm doing.
mm. Yeah, I find that I'm very, like, I believe everyone has a leader of some sort. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, you can lead from behind, you can lead from beside, you can, like, there's so many different, you can lead from above, from the drone or whatever. There's so many different ways to lead, and I believe everyone has that within them. I know for me, I am very connected to my leader within. And you were asking a question earlier. You were, the comment around, or something around, what does it come from within? What does that feel like? And I know there are times when I'm just sitting there minding my business and I'm like, I know I have, like, this is a Dory moment. And
Mhm.
I would really love nothing more than to just shrink down into a puddle of nothingness. And but I have felt it. I know what that feels like to be like, stand up and say something, stand up and do something. Like, I know that feeling. And I trust that voice within me too. And I can tell, like, there's, like, what someone else thinks I should do versus what, Dory, this is like a thought that has been running through your mind for forever. And like, you have just intersected with that. And so, like, take it or leave it. Do you want to leave it? And I'm like, not really. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I will. But there are times when I'm like, this is a moment. And it's not like I'm here, I've arrived. It's more like this, it feels like a stepping stone to my personal self-development. And so if I take it, I it will help prepare me for whatever comes next. But I do want to say, um, I started playing the piano at 8 years old, and I was put in front because of recitals and guilds, like a piano guild, and you get judged. You absolutely 100% get judged, and you get the remarks back from your judges and all the things. And so I know that feeling of being in the spotlight, but I learned it before I knew that's what it was. And so when it happened as an adult, I was like, oh, I know how this feels. And I know how I want to show up. Before, when I was a kid, it was like I had to, and there was just like this certain way to be. And as an adult, I'm like, I don't have to show up um, with the ideas that were formed in my head when I was 8 or when I was 12. So I shed some of those and I can bring my own flavor into that space. But I do know. So my question, like I'm saying this, but I'm also wondering for the both of you, like what experiences have you had in your past that have kind of been the gateway to you discovering or like that you can reflect back on and be like, yeah, that was me, like those were the seeds of leadership for me.
Yeah, I think it's happened for me in groups. No, first of all, I am the oldest of all my siblings. So I think right there that
Mm,
sort of puts you in a position to be primed for that. But and even today, I can sit, I'm an observer, and I can sit back and I can sort of feel and see dynamics, and I can see where things might need to shift to work more efficiently. Like that's always been something that I can do. And it just seems like it's called upon. Like when I see the opportunity and it feels like that invitation that I can step in and I'm not like barreling my way through. Those are the times when I've gone, oh, I actually have something to offer here. This is something that I can step in and contribute with. And there's been times people have seen it in me and say, hey, could you do XYZ? And I didn't see it. But I thought, okay, I'm going to take this in. And if this is something that's being observed in me, maybe it's worth, some inquiry and to see how that goes. But I do notice even today, there are times where my literal body, it'll be like, "Oh, be there, like
mm,
take leadership, go up, do the thing. And I stifle it because I haven't been invited, because I don't want to take the spotlight, because I don't want to be bossy kind of thing. And there's been
isn't that
times where
interesting how that can stop you when like it's exactly what
yes,
you need to be doing?
yes, yes. And it's like, what is stopping me? Is it me? Is it the thoughts of others or whatever? But I don't know where that came from. That just kind of came through. But it's stepping up when I feel called,
Hmm.
I guess. I can't think of actually, there was one instance where I was asked to speak as an Alateen speaker for a conference. And there was 400 people in this audience. And it was just from my own experience. So I thought, yeah, I got this. That's not anything I have to learn. And I stood up there and I meant to say internal organ damage. And I said internal orgasm. And my face a little red thinking about it. And I was behind at this podium and I like boom, ducked down
How
and I
old were you
thought,
when you did
oh,
this?
I was 17.
Oh,
And I was like, what
Oh,
just happened there? But that was an
well, we got that
experience.
out of the way.
Exactly, but that was an experience that was like, oh my God, like I was just a vulnerable human in front of people. And
Uh-huh.
that is probably the worst thing I could think of to happen at that point. And no one threw tomatoes at me, and no
I
one booed me
was
off the
gonna say,
stage,
and
and
you
no,
survived.
I
Yeah.
survived. But what happened was it broke the ice. It was
Hmm.
like, oh, this is a human in front of me. This is someone who,
Hmm.
I can relate to. It just really took the charge down. So
Hmm.
I guess being real.
Yeah.
The experiences when I've been able to just kind of mess up and not be perfect have been really valuable.
um, what was the gist of the question again? Because I have something I was making sure that it's
I
aligned.
was I was asking like what were the seeds? When did you kind of notice the seeds of leadership in your experiences? But the
Mm.
question I would ask you, Kim, in addition to that is how do you nurture those? How do you nurture that space?
I don't know the seeds because I don't think back to when something started. It's usually once I start noticing something. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I have something in particular, it's a personal story, so I won't get into the details, but um, what came about was uh, something was happening involving a medical situation and family. And nothing was really being done by the people who should have been doing the work or doing things or being very attentive. And so I just kind of, you know, let things happen, see, be the observer. And it got to the point where I was so irritated and not yet pissed off, but I was so irritated at what was happening or the lack of, attention and stuff that I actually asked. I asked a couple people in my family. I said, "Is it okay if I speak, if I say something?" And they were like, "Yes, have at it," because they weren't stepping up either. So as far as I put myself in that leadership role because I was so irritated that nothing was being done. And I have no problem becoming bossy in those moments because I'm like, you're not doing shit. No. Why are you not doing anything? This is your job. Not necessarily that you have one job, but dude, seriously? I will get up in someone's face. Actually, I do have to hold myself back from that. Um,
I have
but
been a recipient of that. And you're very
really,
good at it.
I do that when it's just like, you know what, this is ridiculous. It's taking too long. I can become impatient. But for that situation, I did ask, and if I could step up, that's fine. And I noticed that it takes me a while to kind of get to the moment, to the point where I'm just going, okay, I'm done with just observing. I'm done with just being patient. And so I will have an attitude. I will be bossy. I will speak my mind. Um, and I'm not necessarily trying to be nice about it because I'm trying to get something done. Um, Now, as far as nurturing that, I would say first off, it's noticing, not just blurting things out, because now that I know it, I go, oh, okay, I can I can gauge my body. I gauged my senses
Mm.
about saying, okay, this is it's increasing the level of impatience in what is it? Piss off to the highs of festivity or some craziness like
That's
that.
a new one for me.
Um, I know where I'm at, and so I don't let myself just kind of have these outbursts. I won't do that. Um, because I'm more aware of it. I think I've always been aware of it. I'm just kind of like giving someone some time, giving it some time, giving it some time. Okay, what's happening? That's how I nurture it.
You know,
Awareness.
it's interesting what I hear, like in addition to everything you just said, what I hear kind of between the lines is sometimes the difference between being a leader and not being a leader is critical thinking.
Mhm.
Like where you were saying, like I was sitting back and I was watching and could see that something needed to be done. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is a critical thinking skill.
A
I
critical
do.
thinker.
I That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's that attunement to like, here I am, here's my environment, this is how this is impacting me,
Mm-hmm.
and really, yeah, choice. It's like,
Hmm.
what choice am I gonna make here?
Yeah. And once you start asking those questions, like you could have sat there and just checked out, but you were sitting there with the information. And it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And can
Mm-hmm.
you, like, what is the integrity for you in that moment? And it sounded to
Right.
me like something needed to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unless I really do not care about what's going on or what's being said, I won't check out. I'll just sit
Mhm.
there and I'll be patient because what I'm doing is checking to see who, is anyone else speaking up? If it's in a group, what is everyone else saying? It's kind of like it's the same thing that irritates me about, the press today. Um, they'll,
Weird.
you, yeah,
Weird that you're irritated about
We gonna go
that.
here?
right. But it's not necessarily like what irritates me is that especially now because I think it's more prevalent, they will sit in the room and let their colleagues be disparaged and disrespected and everything, and they won't speak up. And for different reasons. I understand the reasons. I think it's talk about integrity. None. They've lost it
Yeah,
all.
that's theater, not leadership.
Right, right.
Mm.
And but then
Wow.
what they do is that they won't speak up then, but they'll go back behind their little keyboards and say, "Oh, this and this and this." I'm like, "But you didn't stand up for your colleague. You didn't do it right then." I have a problem with that. And so if I'm in a situation and I'm still observing what everyone is doing in that moment, and if I happen to know because it's an ongoing thing that they leave, talk all this shit or say what they would do, but never do it, I have a problem with that too.
That's interesting. I have a hard time being in a space where it's the name of the game, but it feels unmoral and
Yeah,
unethical.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I either can choose to stay there and not say anything because it's that situation. Um, or I can speak up and take that leadership role, or I could kind of get someone else who's I can see they want to say something and then encourage them to speak up, which, is easier to
That's
do.
yeah, that's a thing too. I think is coming to me in my thoughts about leadership is that those of us that do speak up often are speaking up for others who can't.
Hmm.
And so I think that's an important thing to recognize as being about leadership because that's sort of opening up the door in a way,
that's
bringing
when my
voice.
leader shows up. Like,
Yeah.
Dory, you know.
Hmm.
Yep.
Because I
Yep.
don't want
Yeah.
to speak up because then everybody's going to be looking at me in that spotlight again.
It's true. They will.
It is true. It
They
does
will
bring
look at you.
attention. That's why I'm like, oh, if I'm speaking up in that respect, I better really feel anchored and have that be a
Hmm.
part of my value system so I can really stand in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a particular tone that I use, like, and it's for that purpose. It's like a tone that I'm intentionally using that helps ground me. But what I find is it co-regulates the room as well.
Yes.
It's a very interesting dynamic
Hmm.
to witness.
So what does it calm people or just kind of bring them to an
Hmm.
attention?
All of the above.
When do you take it on? Is it when things have escalated or when you see it's escalating and you're like, let me,
Perspective.
okay.
We're starting to get imbalanced, and I'm just going
Mm,
to bring another perspective into, like, let's step back just a little bit. I'm seeing something here that we're not talking about, wondering what you guys
mhm.
think of this idea, or what do you think of this perspective? How does this connect to what we're talking about?
Yeah,
So,
see, okay, if we were in a place, I would probably be thinking the same thing and not say anything, still observing. And you saying it will have me go, oh, thank God. Thank you. Because
Hmm.
if I saw that in your expression or something that you were saying or trying to get across, I would be looking at you.
Looking at you.
Can
and I
you?
would feel that look, and I might be like, just kidding. Ah,
And I
she's like,
go,
Oh, so interesting.
but here's the deal. I also have no problem sitting back. Like, there are times when I'm like, we've talked in this arena before about how you have an idea that comes to you and you're like, I want to share it to other people with other people. I can definitely sense like this needs to be talked about.
Mm.
And I feel like I need to sit back and just observe who's going to talk about it because I can see it needs to be talked about and I can hold space for the discussion. or I can hold space for the idea or the implementation. And I don't feel the need to lead the charge on this. So,
Mhm.
so I just kind of put that intention out there, like, open your mouth. Whoever's getting the idea, open your mouth. So that's kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm noticing, and that's part of why this conversation is like I'm noticing that leadership isn't like it's so in everyday moments. It's so in like my relationships and places of learning in different communities, and it gives me this sense of like right, like I don't have to become a leader. Like I am a leader. If I would like to grow those skills or, hone them, share them, whatever, then I can do that. But I just, yeah, that's my takeaway, and that's something that I would love to impart on others is to like really be looking for those everyday lived moments of leadership and where they exist.
yeah. I was actually going to throw out a challenge to Kim if she's willing to accept it.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Along the lines of what Danny just said, my challenge to you is to be willing to see the leader within you and see when those moments show up. Because you've had a common theme today where you're like, I don't want it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, yeah, and you're not gonna. So my challenge is just notice. You don't have to act. I'm not saying act on it. I'm just saying notice it. Notice how often or not it's showing up or how it's showing up. Just notice.
Yes,
But you gotta be
ma'am.
willing to see it.
I
I'm
think that's a
always
good
willing.
challenge for
Yeah,
everybody.
I'm
Yeah.
always willing to try and see something new about me. So, challenge accepted.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear
Nice.
about it.
Yeah. Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah. Thank you for showing up. I wish we could just all be at a little table and just, you know, be closer. But I love these conversations and I'm so grateful to have all of you here. Is there anything you want to say to like close this up? Any thoughts you want to bring in?
Trust
Trust
yourself.
yourself. It's a song. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think that's the key to leadership is trust yourself.
Be the leader that you want to be led by. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited that we opened this conversation up and I love this because it's less about becoming someone new and more about remembering something that's already there and then maybe making the choice to cultivate that out of
Hmm.
that awareness. So, all righty. I hope everybody takes care of themselves and gets on that challenge.
Yes.
We'll see you next
Okay.
time.
Okay.
All right. Bye.